Greetings, friends, and welcome to Spiritual Life Today. My name is Jennifer Allred, and I am one of your chaplains here at Episcopal Homes. I'm one of your priests, and it is always an honor to spend time with you in this space. I am struck by how many things were sort of swirling around in our world today and this week. And so I made a little list of all the things, big things. There are smaller things and things in our personal lives and communities, but sort of really big things that are all happening at one time. And I just want to name that because I think that in terms of our spiritual self-care and spiritual lives, it can be really important to name what is happening in our world around us and how it affects our world internally, and just be aware and build some awareness so that we know where to go with our spiritual journey and spiritual growth. So many of you may be aware that yesterday was a big day in our country and in the world, really. It was an election that happened, and I know for many of us that is pretty fraught and brings up a lot of feelings, emotions, perhaps fears, anger, even excitement, hope, all kinds of things. So this is a big day and a big election. So that's one big one. The other was the holiday of Halloween, which is some people, love it or hate it. It's just an interesting holiday where we have costumes and we kind of go overboard with candy, and it comes from and is related to another thing that happened this weekend, which is the Feast of All Saints and All Souls in our church calendar. And that is a religious ritual holiday, feast day, when we remember that we are very connected to those in the departed realm, that we are in the earthly realm, and for most of us, whatever the departed realm is a mystery. But there is a sense of liminality, so meaning a thin space, a thin veil between our reality and the world of the departed saints and the departed souls who've gone before us. And it's a time when we sort of meditate with and spend time with the losses and the deaths in our community for the past year in particular, but it just all deaths in general, and kind of slow down and hone our attention to those people that we feel connected to who are no longer in our sight, but are in our heart and in whatever that realm may be. So election, Halloween, All Saints, All Souls. We also had a blue moon, which is a pretty rare thing, but it's a full moon, but a blue moon, so even more rare. We continue to deal with the pandemic, the coronavirus pandemic, and that has really changed our daily lives in so many profound ways. So another way that I feel our world is kind of swirling and trying to manage and kind of cope with a lot of changes and challenges. Another big one that continues to, I think, sort of plague us as Americans is the phenomenon of racial violence and racial injustice in our world that has existed from the beginning of our country, and really even before that, but has been expressed in so many just egregious injustices over the course of our history, our country's history, and where we have seen these incredible recent expressions of it in our community here locally in the Twin Cities with the death of George Floyd, and many other incidences around our country, and presently and in the past. And then the last thing is daylight savings. And many of you have strong feelings about that. And it can really be something that affects our minds and bodies and spirits, because our bodies are, I think, proven to be tied to these circadian rhythms of light and dark. And when that gets changed by a kind of artificial mechanism, it can be really hard for our bodily sensations to catch up, to make that change. So that can be off-putting or disorienting or overwhelming. So these are all things, big things. Halloween, Feast of All Saints and All Souls, the full moon, blue moon, the pandemic, which continues to challenge and just sort of bring change to our world, the election, which is a huge election and has been really, really fraught and deeply challenging for many of us. And then the continued racial injustice and violence that we see. And then the phenomenon of daylight savings, which some of us love and some of us find really disorienting and hard. So I just want to name all those things because it's just so much. And I think sometimes things come at us and we just kind of keep going, and that's okay. That can be a wonderful coping skill. But these things have a way of catching up with us, and I think naming them, looking at them, putting them out in front of us so that we can start to think about how to support our own spiritual health and growth, and how to be present to our neighbor and to our family and to our friend and to all the people around us, so that we can help each other be the best people, be the best expression of God's love that we're capable of in this moment. So I just want to read a couple of quick quotes, and which are also part of naming where we are today. And so that's our first step, is just naming it and looking at where we are. And this is from Richard Rohr, and he says, "In our ugly and injurious present political climate, it has become all too easy to justify fear-filled and hateful thoughts, words, and actions in defense against the other side. We project our anxiety elsewhere and misdiagnose the real problem, forever exchanging it for smaller and seemingly more manageable problems. The over-defended ego always sees, hates, and attacks in other people its own faults, the parts of ourselves that we struggle to acknowledge. We do not want to give way on important moral issues, but this often means we don't want to give way on our need to be right, to be superior, to be in control. It is our deep attachment to this false or manufactured self that leads us into our greatest illusions. Most of us do not see things as they are. We see things as we are." So when Richard Rohr is talking about these illusions, these ideas, beliefs, our fondest presumptions, the foundations on which we stand, the things that make us feel comfortable, things that we think we know and that we believe. And whether we like it or not, we're human. And so we hold on to those things with such a grip, so tightly, because there's a lot of fear involved in letting go of those fond presumptions and beliefs, those things that we feel safe with, that make us feel okay, that make us feel kind of right and good and like we're doing the right thing. And that's not all bad. We have to do it to cope as humans. But he's pointing out that that's a function of our ego, and that the radical journey of the Spirit is to radically let go and shed all of those things, and to put ourselves bare in front of God and to say, what is the truth? What is reality? How do I let go of all these human things that make me feel right or make me feel like I identify with a group of people, and that makes me feel safe, and then I'm not like those other people over there. And so we do this us and them and this othering, and it's very, very evident in all of life. But I think the election is a fantastic platform for looking at how we otherize each other. I'm this way, I believe this. I can't believe that you're that way and you believe that, and you voted for that person. And so even if we think and we believe as we want to, we deeply want to, that we are people who are voting, who are living, who are believing from love, and we're in the right, we're doing the right thing. It's a constant battle, if we're honest, to see how we are separating ourselves from other children of God, from the planet, from being in the middle of God's love, of the beloved community where everyone belongs. And not just the people who are like us, and not just the people who believe like us. And it's really, really hard work. So I'm naming that as a problem or a challenge that the spiritual life calls us to. And now I just want to offer as a solution, nothing that's really easy or pat. There's no quick fix for these things. It's a lifelong journey. And the answer most of the time from my teachers and from the people that I learn from, and the ways that I try to go out and serve others, is what we call spiritual practice. It is something that we do, something that we practice. We don't do it right. We're not superior. We're not masters. It's something that we practice because we're always learning. We're always growing. We're always striving. And so we do a practice so that we can strive to shed that ego and strive to move to that place, to kind of allow ourselves to sink into that place of God's love, where we can be free from our human fondest presumptions and beliefs, and be truly in unity with others and with God. And spiritual practice is a term that's used in diverse spiritual traditions around the world to describe any of the things we do to support our spiritual growth. They can help us get back to normal when the world feels turbulent, and when normal is actually the problem, when we're stuck in a pattern that's making us miserable. They can open space they can interrupt that normal pattern and make space for transformation and healing. So spiritual practices are powerful, my friends. And this term spiritual practice refers to the particular things we do at particular times, but also to an overall orientation that sees life as a spiritual journey and everything that happens as grist for that journey. So everything belongs. It's not a matter of being right or doing the right thing, or it's just a matter of knowing that everything belongs, and that everything that comes our way is grist for that journey, is something that we can learn from. Engaging our internal or external stress as a spiritual practice shifts the locus of control. This is very important. We're no longer just victims of whatever's happening. We're now subjects, agents, choosers, who decide to make use of a stressor as an opportunity for our spiritual growth and to widen the energetic bandwidth of the planet. So instead of seeing these things that come our way as obstacles and feeling defeated, we can learn with spiritual practices over time to see those things that come our way as opportunities and invitations. So something like politics in election season may actually be an invitation that's calling us deeper into our own spiritual lives. Spiritual practices take many forms, as you may know. And just for the final part of our session today, I just want to do a brief moment of time of silence, kind of a reflective time of silent meditation, where you're invited to take deep breaths and try to think about kind of slowing and settling, thinking about the sensations in your body, where your weight is. And we're just going to take 5 minutes and be quiet, because it is such a busy time and there is so much going on. And many of us don't have the invitation and kind of don't know how to make that space to be quiet. So we're just going to take 5 minutes with the sound of the chime. So friends, as we go forward in our spiritual lives, we name what is going on, the reality, all its challenges, all its joys. We look at that and we then know that we have spiritual practices to guide us, to help us make our way. And when we have a time like right now that is so rich and full, that we may be a little less overwhelmed and a little more aware if we can name the reality and breathe our way through spiritual practices of prayer, of thanksgiving, of Thich Nhat Hanh says washing the dishes can be a wonderful spiritual practice. Almost anything can be, but the ones we know to be most familiar with, things like prayer and meditation, are always available, always at your fingertips. You can always take 5 minutes of silence, almost anywhere and almost any time. So happy Halloween, blessed All Saints, All Souls to you, wonderful blue moon, happy, safe election, continued blessings on your safety in the pandemic, joy and courage and heart in the facing of racial violence and injustice, and hopefully a smooth transition with daylight savings. With all these things going on, my friends, know that you are being prayed for, that you are loved, and may God bless you and keep you this day.